All right, guys, so today we are going to do systems of equations with elimination, and this is going to be part 2. So it's going to be the same exact type of questions. You're going to do it almost the exact same way. However, if you go down to the questions here, so same direction, same steps, everything. The only thing is, if you compare these to the questions that we did on your first assignment, on all of those questions, all of the x's canceled. But now if you look, 6 and 38 don't cancel. However, plus 2 and minus 2 do cancel, or positive 2 and negative 2 do cancel. Positive 3 and negative 3 do cancel. So the y's are going to cancel this time around. So it's going to pretty much be the same thing. You're going to plug in your numbers a little bit different, but for the most part, it's going to start the same way. Okay, so we're going to do a quick review. You can read the steps above. However, systems of equations are two equations with two different variables. So to be able to solve for x and y, you have to be able to have two equations. When last week we were solving for when we were solving for one variable, you had one equation. Now we have two variables, so you need two equations. Okay, so we're going to solve for x and for y. So the way that you do that is, instead of having two equations, we go ahead and we combine them so we only have one equation. It's going to make it a lot easier. The method that we're using for these equations is called elimination, which means to get rid of. Okay, so when you combine these, the first thing that I notice is that if I added 2 and negative 2 together, it adds up to 0 because they're opposite. So we can go ahead and cancel out our y's because they add up to 0. Then you combine your x's together and you combine your numbers together. So 6 plus 38 is 44. And make sure that you're using the right variable. That's super important here. 44 x's are equal to, and then you add 32 and 12. 32 plus 12 is 44. Oops, sorry. Okay, so just be very careful here. You have a one-step equation. You remember 44 times x. The opposite of times 44 is divided by 44. So you got to divide the left by 44. And you have to divide the right by 44. Okay? So, and if you remember, you always divide. When you have a one-step equation like this, you always divide by the number in front of x. So you divide the left by 44, which means you have 1x. 44 divided by 44 is 1. And then 44 divided by 44, again, is 1. So you're almost done. You're halfway done. You have your first variable. Now we've got to use x to solve for y, okay? So that's our next step. So we've got to use one of these equations. My rule is to always use the one with all the positives if you can. We're doing pretty easy ones here because we only really have a week to go over this. When you get to algebra, you'll do some more difficult ones. Sometimes there won't be a problem that only has positives, but you always want to go with the fewer amount of negatives. So we're going to go with the top one. 6x plus 2y equals 32. Okay, like I said in the beginning, you cannot solve this equation. You cannot have one equation with two variables. It's not possible. So what you do is you go, oh, look, I already solved for x. So I'm going to take out x, and I know x is equal to 1. You're going to bring everything else down. Now you only have one variable. Okay, go ahead and multiply. This is the only step that I think some people are like, okay, what do I do now? Make sure when you have 6 times 1, we don't care that it's 6 times 1. We just need a number here. So 6 times 1 is 6. Now you have a two-step equation. Now, the only reason I waited to do these equations second was because some of you, when the variable's not first, you kind of get confused. So remember, you want to get your variable by itself. So that means we want to get rid of the 6. If I have 6, I need to take away 6. And you can think about it like it's positive. If I have a positive 6, you got to subtract 6. Or a plus 6, you got to minus 6. If I subtract 6 on the left, I've got to subtract 6 on the right. Those cancel because 6 minus 6 is 0. Bring down your 2y equals, now let's see, what's 32 minus 6 is 26. And then last but not least, this is y times 2. So the opposite of times is divided by. The opposite of times 2 is divided by 2. And if you divide by 2 on the left, you have to divide by 2 on the right. Or you can always think of anytime you have a number and a variable right beside it, you can always divide by the number in front. All right, so we have y equals 26 divided by 2 gives us 13. And now we're officially done. Remember, you want to write your answers together as an ordered pair, x comma y. So my x value is 1, my y value is 13. So for either of these equations, I can plug in 1 for x and I can plug in 13 for y, and both of these equations will be true. I'm not going to make you do that, but you can do that. Okay, so if you think you get the hang of it, because we did a bunch before, you did a quizzes before this, so if you think you get it and you understand that it's practically the same thing with the y's, then you can go ahead, finish this worksheet, and then you can come back and check your answers on the video. If you're not quite ready yet, then we can do this one together. Okay, so go ahead and draw your lines. So remember, this is elimination, so you're looking for two variables to eliminate. You know 4 and 8 make 12, so those don't add up to 0. However, 3 minus 3 does add up to 0. So, or positive 3 and negative 3 are opposites, they add up to 0, so those cancel. Then you want to combine your x's because you're allowed to add x's and x's. So 4x plus 8x is 12x equals, sorry, I got a little dark in here. Let me open the blinds, hold on. I'm not sure if that's any better, but all right. Then you're going to add your numbers together. 37 and 11. Let's see, 7 and 1 is 8. 3 and 1 is 4. So now you went from all of this like really long, 2 equations, 2 variables, to now you have 1 equation, 1 variable, 1 step to solve it. So you have 12 times x. So hopefully you're getting good with this part. You know that you need to divide by 12 on both sides to cancel out that 12. 12 divided by 12 cancels out. You have 1x all by itself. And then on the right side, you're going to divide 48 divided by 12. 48 divided by 12 gives you 4. So solving for your first variable, I think is pretty easy. And I hope a bunch of you also think that. And if you can get halfway there, then you're good. Now the second part. You're going to do, whether you're solving for, you eliminate your x's or your y's, you're going to do the same part every time. You're going to pick one of these equations to write down. I always pick the ones that don't have negatives if possible. So I'm going to pick the top one. So let's move this up a little bit. So we have 4x plus 3y equals 37. I'm going to go ahead and draw my line down the middle. Okay. Now, like I said before, you cannot solve one equation with 2 variables in it. However, in our first step, we already know what x is, so we don't have to keep x as x. We can replace it. X is actually equal to 4, so you're going to plug that in, and then you're going to bring everything else down. 4 times 4 plus 3 times y equals 37. Okay? Now, I said this is the one step I feel like some kids are like, okay, what do I do next? Now, there's steps above, but you don't need 4 times 4 here. You need to know what that is worth. 4 times 4 we know is 16. I'm going to bring everything else down. Now you have a 2-step equation. We did these. You've been doing these every time that you have a systems of equations, and we did them all last week. Okay, so you want to get the variable by itself, which means we've got to get rid of this number over here. We know this is a positive 16, so you can put a little plus there if you like to do that. The opposite of plus 16 is minus 16. If I subtract 16 on the left, I have to subtract 16 on the right. 16 minus 16 is 0. Those cancel. You're going to bring down your 3y. And then you got to subtract. 37 minus 16 is 21. And then last but not least, hopefully when you get here, you know what you're doing. So 3 times y. The opposite of times 3 is divide by 3. And if I divide by 3 on the left, I have to divide by 3 on the right. 3 divided by 3 gives me 1y all by itself. And 21 divided by 3 is 7. And you're done. Last thing is you're going to write your answer as an ordered pair. X comma y. It's just so that it puts it together kind of like in a nice little package. My x value is 4. My y value is 7. So your answer is 4, 7. All right. So we have 4 more problems on the back. I truly think those of you that get this, I want you to stop the video now and I want you to try these. And you can kind of do them one at a time and check your answer if you want. You can do all 4 of them and then come back and check your answer when you're done. Those of you that aren't getting it, I still think maybe try number 3. Okay, maybe do as far as you can. I think most of you can at least solve for the first variable. So go ahead and pause the video now. And I want you to do as much as you can on your own and then play the video. All right, so for this one, you're gonna do the same thing. You're gonna split everything up. I see here 2 and 3 do not eliminate because they're not opposites, but 5 minus 5 is 0, so they get eliminated. Then you're gonna add your other terms together, your like terms. X and X's can be added together. Numbers and numbers can be added together. So 2 plus 3x is 5x equals, let's see, 65 and 35. So 5 and 5 is 10. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, then you have 5 times x. The opposite of times 5 is divide by 5. And if I divide by 5 on the left, I need to divide by 5 on the right. 5 divided by 5 is 1x all by itself. And then 100 divided by 5, 100 divided by 5 gives you 20. So I'm really hoping most of you are able to solve for x on your own, or this first variable on your own. All right, next up, you need to pick the easier equation. I think the top one's easier because there are no negatives involved. If you want to be risky and you want to be a daredevil and you want to pick this one and try it, you are going to get the same answer as long as you do it correctly. However, some people mess up when there's negatives involved, so I want to kind of limit that if possible. Okay, so we're going to start with 2x plus 5y equals 65. Remember, we have to do something before we can solve this equation. So we need to go ahead and plug in our x. We can't have 2 variables. Okay, then you bring everything else down. All right, go ahead and multiply these together. 2 times 20 doesn't help us. However, 2 times 20 is 40 does now help us because now we have a 2-step equation. Okay, we want to get the variable term by itself, so we need to get rid of 40. It's a positive 40 or plus 40, so the opposite of plus 40 is minus 40. If you subtract 40 on the left, you have to subtract 40 on the right. 40 minus 40 is 0. Those cancel out. Bring down your 5y. 65 minus 40 gives you 25. And now you have a 1-step equation. Times 5, the opposite of times 5 is divide by 5. If you divide by 5 on the left, you've got to divide by 5 on the right. 5 divided by 5 is 1. You have 1y all by itself, and 25 divided by 5 is 5. And the last step is you write your answers together as an ordered pair, x comma y. Your x value is 20. Your y value is 5. So that's your final answer, 20 comma 5. Okay. Now, if you haven't paused the video, I want you to pause the video and I want you to go ahead and do this problem. All right, so first up, you got to look for your opposites. What's going to eliminate? Hopefully you guys see that immediately. 7 and 11 together, we know, are not going to cancel because they're not opposites. But negative 2 and positive 2 are opposites. So we know our y's cancel. And you're going to put your x's together. So 11 and 7 makes 18 x's equals, and you got to add 9 and 45 is going to be 54. All right, you have x times 18, so the opposite of times 18 is divided by 18. And if I divide by 18 on the left, I've got to divide by 18 on the right. 18 divided by 18 is 1, those cancel. So you have x equals 54 divided by 18 equals 3. Hopefully, I'm hoping and praying that y'all are getting at least the first variable by yourself. If you're not, it's okay. We still got plenty of more problems to go. However, if you are, then that's amazing. I'm proud of you. You're doing great. All right, so second step. We have to solve for y. To do that, we need an equation. So I am this time going to use the second equation because there are no negatives. So I'm going to start with 11x plus 2y equals 45. Okay, remember, said this a few times already. You cannot solve for two variables, x and y, when you only have one equation. That's why they give you two to start with, okay? If we're only going to have one, then we're going to plug in for this x value because now we actually know what x is. X isn't x anymore. We know for this problem it's 3. So you're going to plug in 3. Now, we only have one variable to solve for. So now we're able to solve for this equation. Remember, 11 times 3 makes this look way complicated. We just want to actually multiply those to get a number. It's going to make it look much simpler. So 11 times 3 is 33. You bring everything else down. Okay, now we got to figure out what value for y is multiplied by 2 and added to 33 to equal 45. Okay, to do that, you do the same steps. Get your variable by itself, which means we have to get rid of this 33 on the left side with it. Okay, this is a positive 33, if you want to put that little plus there. So we need the opposite of plus 33 is minus 33. And if I subtract 33 on the left, I have to subtract 33 on the right. 33 minus 33 is 0. Bring down your 2y. 45 minus 33, let's see, 5 minus 3 is 2. 4 minus 3 is 1. All right, last but not least, once again, you got a one-step equation. This is 2 times y, so the opposite of times 2 is divided by 2. If I divide by 2 on the left, I have to divide by 2 on the right. 2 divided by 2 cancels out to 1. So I have 1y all by itself is equal to 12 divided by 2 is 6. And then your very last step is just to write your answer as an ordered pair. You just combine them instead of keeping them separately. So 3 is x, 6 is y. So your answer is 3, 6. All right, 2 to go. All right, number 5. Once again, I hope that you are automatically seeing like, ooh, those two get eliminated and cross them out. So if you look at your x's, 15 and 6 do not cancel out. They don't get eliminated because they're not opposites. But negative 13 and positive 13 or minus 13 and plus 13 add up to 0. So those get canceled out. Then instead of having two equations, we want to simplify this and make it one. We have x's, which we can put together, and we have numbers, which we can put together. So we are going to add 15 plus 6. So we know we have 21 x's equals, and then we're going to add 94 and 74. 94 plus 74 is 168. And if you can do those few little steps right there, then you get a one-step equation. And I hope that you are all getting used to solving these because we've done it a million times the last few days, okay? Time, the opposite of times 21 is divided by 21. If I divide by 21 on the left, I have to divide by 21 on the right. 21 divided by 21 is 1. Those cancel out to 1, so you have 1x all by itself equals, and then we have to divide. 168 divided by 21. 168 divided by 21 gives you 8. So you have half of your problem done. We've solved for x. Now we just have to solve for y. So I'm hoping all of you are already writing down your next equation. And I hope you're picking the second one. The second one doesn't have any negatives involved, which is going to make it much easier. Okay, remember, we can't have two different variables. We can only have one, so we have to plug in this 8 for x. And then you're going to bring everything else down. Okay, remember, it's a little complicated when you see these parentheses and 6 times 8, so we're going to actually simplify that. 6 times 8 is 48, so we're going to replace that with 48. And then you're going to bring everything else down. Now you have a two-step equation. Now, a lot of you don't like having the variable in the middle here, but it is okay. You're going to do the same thing. You're going to get the variable by itself, which means we got to look over here on the same side. That's a positive 48 or a plus 48. We know if it's plus 48, we have to do the opposite, which is minus 48. If I'm minus 48 on the left, I have to minus 48 on the right. 48 minus 48 cancels to 0, so you can cross those out. Bring down your 13y equals, let's see here, 74 minus 48 is 26. And then last but not least, you got a one-step equation. Times 13, the opposite of times 13 is divided by 13. If I divide by 13 on the left, I need to divide by 13 on the right. Those cancel to 1. 13 divided by 13 is 1. So I have 1y is equal to 26 divided by 13 is 2. And there we go. I really, it kills me not to be watching you guys do this. So I am really hoping that you are getting it. If you're not getting it, please let me know. Please come to my Zoom meetings. Please email me. Please send me a message on Remind. If the Zoom meetings are too much for you and you just need to have one-on-one stuff, just let me know, okay? I have time. I can do this. But you just have to help me. If you sit there and you're confused, I'm not a mind reader, okay? I don't have a crystal ball. All right, your x value is 8. Your y value is 2. So your answer is 8,2. Okay, if you have not done a problem on your own yet, I want you to pause this video and do all of number 6 on your own. And then I want you to see if it's right, because I am betting if you're looking at the work that you did before, you can get number 6 done by yourself, and you can get it done right or done correctly. All right, here we go. Last one. Okay, so as soon as I see this, I know that we're using the elimination method. So we want to eliminate one of our variables. We know 4 and 2 are not opposites. 4 plus 2 is 6. We can't cross out 6. We can only cross out zeros. Negative 3 plus 3, or a minus 3 and a positive 3, we know those cancel. So you're going to cross those out. And then you're going to combine your x's together. 4 plus 2 is 6x. 25 and 17, let's see what that's equal to. 25 plus 17 is 42. Okay, now we have a one-step equation. The opposite of times 6 is divided by 6. If I divide by 6 on the left, I have to divide by 6 on the right. 6 divided by 6 gives you 1x all by itself. And 42 divided by 6 is 7. So, those of you that did it on your own, hopefully you at least got that first variable solved for. Okay, now the next step. You want to pick one of these equations. I'm going to pick the bottom one because it doesn't have any negatives. Oh, whoops. Okay, then I've said this a few times. You can't have an x and a y. You can only have one variable or one letter. So I know that x is 7 because I just solved for it. So I'm going to take out x and I'm going to replace it with 7. And then I'm going to bring everything else down. Okay. Then again, I'm going to simplify this. It kind of looks confusing with 2 and then parentheses 7. So instead of 2 times 7 in my equation, I'm going to actually multiply. 2 times 7 is 14. Now it actually looks like a two-step equation. Okay? Even though your variable's in the middle, you're still going to do it the same way. Circle your whole variable. Look at the number that's over here with it. It's positive 14. If you want to put that little plus there, you can. The opposite of plus 14 is minus 14. If you minus 14 on the left, you have to minus 14 on the right. 14 minus 14 is 0. Those cancel. Bring down your 3y. 17 minus 14 is 3. Now be careful, you're not done yet. Okay, we got to get 1y. A lot of people, when these numbers are the same, for some reason, they think they want to stop there. You still have a one-step equation. This is 3 times y. The opposite of times 3 is divided by 3. And if I divide by 3 on the left, I need to divide by 3 on the right. 3 divided by 3 is 1y, and 3 divided by 3 is 1. So your final answer, remember you write it as an ordered pair, you put them together. X is first, comma Y. So your final answer is 7, comma 1. Okay, this is our very last video. So if you have any questions, if you need some more practice problems, if you need help from me, if you need anything, please let me know. You guys have worked so hard. Keep it up, do your last quizzes, and that will be your very last graded assignment for this year. Okay? I hope you're all doing well. Let me know if you have any questions. Have a great day. Bye.